Hello, my name is Zara Snapp and I work with ATS in Colombia. Colombia finds itself at a historic moment, having recently signed a peace agreement to end the longest-running armed conflict in the region. In addition, following the United Nations General Assembly Special Session on Drugs in April 2016, the Colombian government, along with civil society organizations, have been identifying ways in which to implement the recommendations contained in the UNGASS document. In order to address the needs brought about by the peace agreement and UNGASS, Acción Técnica Social, ATS, is undertaking various lines of work which directly impact Chapter 5 of the outcome document, including prevention, risk, and harm reduction strategies and human rights education with ex-FARC combatants, research on how cocaine production, trafficking, and consumption will emerge or shift and policy options to address those shifts, and harm reduction among people who use drugs, particularly stimulants and heroin. The workshops with the FARC are being undertaken in the Putumayo region and consist of a diagnosis, including a survey to better understand consumption, directly feeding into enhancing the knowledge of policymakers. This will be followed by a train-the-trainer visit on prevention and risk reduction, which will then multiply the work by having those trained go to a community camp and use peer education to train others. Identifying risk factors and implementing age and context-appropriate measures is a key part of this work. A joint collaboration with the University Externado of Colombia and ATS is focused on developing policy scenarios in the coming years, taking into account important variables such as current market trends, cocaine consumption on a global level, what a fair trade and sustainable market would look like, violence and drug trafficking, and policies focused on public health and human rights. This forward-looking prospective study explores mechanisms and regulatory policy options for Colombia and international government partners. ATS currently runs needle exchange programs in various cities in Colombia, seeking to reduce the transmission of HIV among people who inject drugs and helping them connect with other health and social services. Through this work, innovative approaches of outreach have been established and overdoses have been prevented. The use of bazuco, a derivative of cocaine, is increasing in Colombia, a phenomenon that ATS is seeking to address through harm reduction programs, innovations in paraphernalia, and substance analysis programs. The work currently underway in Colombia is seeking to address the current issues that are evolving. ATS encompasses a cross-cutting perspective encountering the reality and trends that are emerging in the field of drug production, consumption, as well as peace-building among ex-combatants. This is a clear example of local, on-the-ground implementation of an international document. There is an opportunity to impact international best practices through local organizations and the lessons learned within difficult contexts and among diverse populations. We cannot allow recent events in Colombia to continue, where within the framework of the implementation of the voluntary and forced crop eradication program, 7 farmers, 3 police, and 5 civilians have been killed. All of these deaths are directly related to the crop substitution program, territorial control, and the struggle for land. These conflicts go against the goal of respecting fundamental human rights and thus must end. We have been warning about this possible increase in violence for the past year, and we showed that without properly addressing the issue of drug trafficking through alternative measures, possibly regulation, that these would be the devastating consequences. It is under these circumstances that we call on the international community to seek alternatives to eradication, the use of force, and weapons. It is time to begin the process of responsible regulation. Until Colombia and the continent, including the largest consuming countries around the world, regulate coca and cocaine, until that happens, a stable and enduring peace will be impossible. If we intend to address the most pressing drug-related issues, such as unemployment and social marginalization, then regulation is the way forward. We cannot ignore reality or basic economics of demand and supply, as well as respecting individual freedoms. We must base our actions in concrete, pragmatic, and realistic policy options, including regulating the market to increase economic opportunity, reduce the power of the currently illegal market, and respect and promote human rights and development. We wish you success in your debates and discussions at the Commission on Narcotic Drugs and hope that you will take into account our recommendations and the work on the ground that is currently being undertaken. Thank you very much.